Hello friends, my name is Neha Jagtap. I am student of a FI Tech in Computer Science branch from RIT College Islampur. Today we are going to discuss about the one of the distributed database. What is mean by distributed database? All these things are we are going to discuss in this session. First we discuss about the distributed database. What is mean by distributed database? Here, distributed database is a collection of multiple logically and interrelated database which distributed over a computer network. And what is mean by distributed database management system? Let's see about that. Distributed database management system is a software that manages a distributed database and provides an access mechanism that makes this distribution transparent to the users. Here we will discuss about the NoSQL database. This is also one of the distributed database. Let's see about the NoSQL database. What is mean by NoSQL database? What are the types of NoSQL database and its examples of a NoSQL database? We will see in later. Firstly, introduction. NoSQL system, it's sometimes called not only SQL. To emphasize that they may support the SQL like a query language. NoSQL means also called as NoSQL, which also called as a not only SQL, non-SQL, non-relational. And usually database is used for storing some amount of data and retrieving this data in a particular tabular form, which is called as the database. Here NoSQL database having same mechanism. NoSQL database which is used for storing and retrieving a data in a tabular form, which is used in relational databases. NoSQL database is usually used in a big data and various real-time web applications. There are some motivations for these approaches. First is the simplicity of a design. It means that it's very easy to design. Second, simpler horizontal scaling to the cluster of a machines, finer control over the availability. Now we will discuss about the types and examples of a not SQL database. NoSQL database. Mainly here we mention there are the five main types. First is a column, document, key, graph and multi-model. Here Accumulo, Cassandra, Root, HBase, Vertica, all these are the examples of a type column. Apache CouchDB, ClusterPoint, Couchbase, DocumentDB, HyperDex, IBM Domino, MarkLogic, MongoDB, OrientDB, Quiz, RethinkDB. All these are the types of a document. Aerospike, Couchbase, Dynamo, Faircom, C3S, Foundation DB, HyperDex, MakeCacheDB, MUMPS, Oracle NoSQL Database, OrientDB, Redix, Rake, BerkeleyDB. All these are the examples of a type key value. Allegro Graph, ArangoDB, Infight Graph, Apache Giraffe, MarkLogic, Neo4j, OrientDB, Virtuoso, Stardog. All these are the example of a graph. Alchemy database, ArangoDB, CortexDB, FoundationDB and MarkLogic, OrientDB. All these are the type of the multi-model database. Now we will discuss one of this database in deeply, which is ArangoDB. ArangoDB is in the form of graph as well as multimodal. ArangoDB is a one type of a non-SQL database. It was created in 2012 when many databases were already around with the goal of being a comprehensive database solutions that could cover a variety of use cases. At its core, ArangoDB is a document store, but that is only a beginning. You can query that with the full-fledged query language named AQL, make ACID compliant transactions, add custom HTTP endpoint in the form of a JavaScript applications with its embedded V8 and many more. ArangoDB is a distributed and stateful application. There are many reasons for using distributed database systems, such as scaling out for performance and data size reasons, and adding a resilience and a fault tolerance are probably the most common ones. The massive amount of computing and storage power in the forms of a commodity hardware have become relatively cheap and universally available. All these need to be managed, and having a cluster operating system is a logical consequence. After completing this tutorial, you should able to install ArangoDB on Ubuntu 14.04, configure ArangoDB for a basic uses, insert, modify and query for a data. ArangoDB is a multimodal database. As I earlier told that it's a document store and a graph database. It is a open source and freely available on internet. It having a Apache 2 license. ArangoDB offers a convenient queries via HTTP or REST and AQL. ArangoDB including joins between a different collections, configurable consistency guarantees using transactions. ArangoDB is a memory efficient by a shape detection. ArangoDB uses a JavaScript throughout. Then API extendable by JS code in a Fox microservices framework. Again, ArangoDB offers many drivers for a wide range of languages. ArangoDB is easy to use with web front-end and good documentation, and enjoys a good community as well as a professional support. ArangoDB is developed by ArangoDB GmbH in Cologne. There are 12 people in this team, and ArangoDB is hosted on this particular link. Here you will see that a link. Now, what is this link? https://github.com/arangodb/arangodb. This database kernel is written in a C++ language, and ArangoDB has a Google's V8 embedded to use a JavaScript for higher levels, and also ArangoDB uses a HTTP or a REST and a JSON as an external API. Now we will discuss about the core concepts. There are the main 5 core concepts, which are the firstly document store, query language, ACID, V8, HTTP API. We will discuss in one by one. First is core store. Before studying about the core store, we will discuss about the core concepts. Why we study the core concepts? Yeah, you will probably want to know familiarize yourself with them. before building a project on ArangoDB. So now we will discuss about the document store. ArangoDB, which stores the data in the documents, in contrast to have a relational database, store the data. And documents are arbitrarily data structures consisting of a key value pairs. Next, the key is a string that names the value, and value can be any data type, even another document. Documents are not bound to any schema. Now we will discuss about the query language. Query language, which means that interaction between the data using either an API or a query language. While the former leaves a lot of details to the API user, a query language hands over the details to the database. In relational database, SQL is an example of a query language. Now we will discuss about the ACID. There are the 4 properties in this ACID, as its name suggests that A means atomicity, C means consistency, I means isolation, D means durability. These 4 properties describes the guarantee of a database transactions. ArangoDB supports the ACID compliant transactions. Now we will discuss about the V8. Google's JavaScript engine that powers a Chrome can be easily embedded in other software too. Using it in Arango enables using a JavaScript inside the database. Much of the ArangoDB's internal functionality is built with the JavaScript. Now we will discuss about the HTTP API. ArangoDB provides an HTTP API to allow the clients to interact with the database. The API is source oriented and can be extended to the JavaScript. Now we will discuss about the prerequisites. Before we start, make sure to have your droplet set up correctly. Create droplet with Ubuntu 14.04. Add sudo user. Now you should log in into your user using a newly created user. Okay. Now we will discuss about the next point. Why did we start ArangoDB? Mainly ArangoDB is a second generation of a NoSQL database. It having a unique feature sets. It solves some problems of other non-SQL database. ArangoDB Greenfield projects. ArangoDB experience. ArangoDB, which having a experience in building NoSQL DBs for more than 10 years. Now we will see the main features of ArangoDB. As I earlier told that it's open source and free. It's a multi-model database, convenient querying, extendable through JS or mruby. It having a high performance and a space efficiency, and it's easy to use. Here we discuss about the free and open source. ArangoDB, which having a license under Apache 2, you will get setup or any information on GitHub. Now we will discuss about the multi-model database. Mainly there are the 3 multi-model databases. Firstly is a key value store. Second is a document store. Third is a graph database. And all these are consistent in polyglot persistent. Now next we will see one by one. First, key value store. Key value stores use the associative array as their fundamental data models. In this model, data is represented as a collection of key value pairs, such that each possible key appears at most once in a collection. Next, key value model is one of the simplest non-trivial database model, and richer data model are often implemented as an extension of it. Key value model can be extended to a distinctly ordered model that maintains key in lexicographic order. Key value models can be used consistent models ranging from eventual consistency to serializability, and some databases supports ordering of keys. There are various hardware implementation, and some users maintain data in a memory while other employ solid state drives or rotating disk. Map key value stores which map the value data in a unique string keys. Key value store treat the data as a opaque. Key value stores can implement a scaling and partitioning easily due to the simplest data model. Key value can be seen as a special case of a document for many applications. This is sufficient but not for the all cases. Now we will discuss about ArangoDB in the form of a key value store. It's currently supported as a key value document, and in the near future it supports a special key value collections. And one of the optimization will be elimination of a JSON, and in this case, so the value needed not to be passed. Next will sharding capability of a key value collections will differ from document collections. Now next we will study about document store. It's a central concept of a document store is a notation of a document. While each document oriented database implementation differs on details of these definitions. In general, they all assume that the documents encapsulate and encode data in some standard formats or the encodings. Encodings in use include XML and JSON, as well as the binary forms like a BSON and other defining characteristics of a document oriented database is that in addition to key lookup performed by the key value store, and database offers an API or a query languages that retrieves a document based on their content. Document store, which is normally based on a key value store, each document still has a unique value. It allows to save the documents with logical simplicity in collections. It treats data records as attribute structured documents. It often allows querying and indexing document attributes. Now we will discuss about the ArangoDB in terms of a document store. It supports both. Database can maintain collection from different types, and second is for efficient memory handling. We have an automatic schema recognition. It has a different way to retrieve the data: CRUD via RESTful interface, query by example, JS for a graph traversal, and AQL. Now we will discuss about the graph storage. This kind of a database is a design for a data whose relations are well represented as a graph consisting of an element interconnected with a finite number of relations between them. The type of data could be social relations, public transport links, road maps, or network topologies. Here one example is given: computer science bibliography. Here it shows the graph store structure in computer science and bibliography. Now ArangoDB, we will discuss in ArangoDB in consist of graph store. It supports a property graph which having a vertex and edges are the documents. Query them using geoindex, full index, SQL like queries, and edges are directly relations like vertex, and custom traversal and building in a graph algorithms. Now we will see the structure of or architecture of ArangoDB. Here you will see that architecture of ArangoDB. There are many modules in this architecture. First is a scheduler, dispatcher, etc go, crude API, high level API in JavaScript, forks, transactions, DB engine, sharding cluster, infrastructure, V8 JavaScript. All these are the models of ArangoDB architecture. Firstly, client send a HTTP request to the scheduler. Scheduler schedules this request and dispatch this request to the dispatcher. Dispatcher now send this request to the crude API, high level API in JavaScript and forks. Here some operations are performed on that request, and after performing the operations, crude API, high level API in JavaScript, forks now send a response back to the dispatcher, and dispatcher send a response back to the scheduler, and scheduler sends HTTP response to the client. Here we will see many more models in this architecture. Transaction and all these models. This also perform a important role in this architecture. Transaction, which is used for a transacting the requests from one to other thing. So all these are the architecture of ArangoDB. Now we will see the platforms. On which platform ArangoDB is used? There are main 4 platforms. Firstly is the Linux, Mac OS, Windows and a Raspberry. You can install ArangoDB on Linux, on Mac OS, on Windows, on Raspberry API. All these are support for ArangoDB. Now we will see the performance of ArangoDB. Here I will give you some figures which are for inserting, reading. For inserting 1 million documents, ArangoDB requires 243 seconds. For reading 1 million documents, it requires 936 seconds. Here, primary index lookup and return of a document using AQL, 1 million HTTP request, which requires 941 seconds. Now we will see the installation part. How to install ArangoDB on Ubuntu. Now we will see the installation part. How to install the ArangoDB on Ubuntu. Open a terminal. Copy this URL into the terminal. You will get this URL on GitHub. Copy this and paste it into the terminal. Now enter your password. It will take few minutes to install. Here we will see the status of the installation part. Right now up to 38% part is installed. Now set your password here and click OK. Now again type your password and OK. Right now status is unpacking ArangoDB. In this way our installation part is completed. Right now if you want to see the status of the installation, then write a command sudo systemctl status ArangoDB 3.service, then enter. Here our status is active and running. Now open a web browser. Type the URL localhost colon 8529. Now type username and password, then login. Here right now there is no database, so on the left hand side there are the number of parts, collections, queries, users, databases. Create a new database. Then here our database is created. If you want to delete this, go and delete it. Here our database is. Now select this database and then again login. Create a new collection. open this. So in this way the installation part is completed. Now exit from command prompt. Thank you so much for listening this video. I hope you will get a little bit information about NoSQL database and ArangoDB database. Thank you so much.